Hey, it's Alan from Difference of Skill, and this is a Weiss deck profile of my DC Magic deck. So if you don't know what DC stands for, it's the Capo. Play the game if you guys don't know about it. The anime really sucks. Okay, anyway. So let's not really waste time because it took quite a long time for my first video, and I'm basically redoing this because it took a bit too long. Okay, anyway. So let's start off with the climaxes. So I play 4 2001 Soul Draw 1 climaxes, and 4 of the 1001 Soul to every character. So basically this is 4 gates, and if you guys don't remember what gates do, I suggest you guys go back to tutorial video or just read up a rule book. Anyway, so these are pretty important in this deck that I play 4 and 4 of these and not any more of or not other types of climaxes, because both my level 3s will make use of these climaxes for their synergy, which I'll basically explain in a bit later. So 2k1 and 1k1 for each, and I have nice Oni. Yeah, I have Oni chance to use because this deck is very little sister orientated. And if you guys don't know Japanese, then I'm sorry, I guess. So I'll start Japanese 101. Oni. If you guys don't know what that means, it means little sister by now. Okay, anyway. So for my level 0s to start off with, I played 2 brainstorms. And this is a green brainstorm, so if you guys so her ability is I pay 1, rest this card, top 4, and for every climax I hit, out of the 4 cards, I can choose 1 card from my clock and add it to my hand. And after I do that, I can put 1 card from the top of my deck. No, I have to actually. If I take a card, take a card right from my clock and add it to my hand, I have to take 1 card back from the top of my deck and add it into the clock. So this is pretty good because unlike most brainstorms, which limit you to only units and characters, this brainstorm actually allows me to choose climax or event cards from my clock zone and add it to my hand. Of course, the downside is that it's only from the clock, right? So the choices are not as big as your waiting room if you wanted units, or, well, you might not even have events in your clock, but that's pretty much the downside for a clock brainstorm. My next real zeros is 3 Kotori. And her ability, she's a 4k level 0, and her demerit is that my opponent, when I play this card, my opponent can show me his hand, and if there's a climax on his hand, then this card will rest, so this card cannot attack for that turn. Pretty gimmicky card in general, because if you only had 1 level 0 attacker and you happen to play this and they have a climax in your hand, then you lose, basically you don't get to attack that turn if you didn't have any other level 0s. On the upper hand is that if you do have other level 0s and you play this card and they show you their hand, and which has a climax design, they basically reveal all their information to you. So you can basically make plays, or you kind of make plays accordingly to deal with what your opponent has in his hand. So kind of give me the card. I played 3 level 0 Nemus, and one of them being an SR, so the art's a bit different because in DC, all the shiny cards have like alternative art, so that's pretty cool. So her ability is that when I have 2 stock or lower, she gains 1001 level. This is a pretty good level 0 to start off the game with, because basically this avoids all level 0 bombs because she's gonna be level 1. And at the start of the game, like early game, you really only have 2 stock or lower anyway. So she's 35, basically 35 level 1. So pretty good level 0. And if you have any assists, basically they can jump up to 4 or 4.5k. So these are half my level 0s. I play 1 Lolly Nemu. I think it's Memory something, not Nemu. Memory something Yume, but anyway, Lolly Yume. What she does is when I attack, I can pay 1 and mill 2 cards from the top of my deck. If both the cards mill are characters and they contain magic trait, I can basically savage 1 from my waiting room. It's a very gimmicky card. Like, it's not that really suggested to run. That's why I really one of. It's kind of my techie card that I kind of just like running because it looks nice. But yeah, not that good because it's not really because of the fact that the magic trait part, because my entire deck's magic trait, so it's not really, because if you mill an event or a climax card, you basically just pay 1 stock to do nothing, and she's also only 1.5k power at level 0, basically get destroyed by everything. But kind of gimmicky and kind of helpful because you can kind of mill cards and try and refresh faster sometimes. It's very gimmicky. I played 3 Otome. I think it's also memory something Otome, but wait, I don't see the word memory in here, never mind. So 3 support Otomes. They give the front card, the character in front, 500 power. And her second ability is that she cannot be targeted by your opponent's effects. So basically, in the back, she can't be killed by effects in general, unless they have some special text on it or whatever. But in the back, she's kind of indestructible 500 support. For TM, I played 3 because having supports in this deck is pretty important, as you may see soon. And then I played 3 of the generic, like the searcher cards. Her ability is you pay 1, ditch 1 card from your hand, and you can search your deck for 1 magic trait character and add it to your hand. So it's a pay 1, search 1 kind of thing. She's a little below on the average power because magic trait is a pretty big trait. So this is probably why she's only 2,000 power, because the average these are pretty generic effects, and the average card that have the same generic effects are usually 2.5k. But since magic trait is there's a lot of cards that have magic trait, which is probably why this is 2,000 instead of 2.5. So those are my level 0s. And I am 8 minutes in already, so I'm okay in time, I guess. Not really. So let's make level 1 a little faster. So I play 1 Sarah counter. She's a 2.5 counter, and the demerit for being a 2.5 is she adds 1 soul to your opponent's characters when they attack you. So the attacking character is attacking you will gain 1 soul. Your character will gain 2.5. Pretty kind of gimmicky. The 2.5 is pretty good because it's a pretty high power counter at level 1. And the other thing is the 1 soul is kind of basically the demerit of that extra 500. And the problem with that is it's okay. It's kind of useful sometimes because when your opponent deals an extra damage, right, you might actually hit your climax because of that extra damage. And this is especially useful when your opponent gets a soul trigger, which bumps their attack up to like 3 or 4, basically 3 or 4 damage, right? And if you activate this event, this counter, it basically makes 5 damage, right? So you kind of have a higher chance of canceling. But it's basically a double-edged sword because you might not cancel and you'll just take 5 in the face or something like that, or you might take that extra damage. So yeah, that's it's kind of gimmicky in a way. Play 2 level 1 Yume. Her first ability is she gains 1,000 when there are 3 or more magic characters. So she can be a 1/7,000. Her second ability is when she reverses one opponent's character card. You may mill the top card from your deck, and if it's a climax card, you may savage 1 from your waiting room. So you may retrieve 1 character card from your waiting room back to your hand if you manage to mill a climax card. It's not too shabby, I would say. Like I kind of like the milling idea, but if you mill the climax card, it's not exactly too bad. If you mill nothing, it's also not too bad because you kind of get to refresh faster. But I mean, sometimes you might have wanted to cancel damage instead. But at level 1, I would say that if I reach level 2 at a moderate speed, it's pretty good. Kind of gimmicky. It's 1/7,000. Gets run over by quite a lot of level 1s. Doesn't have encore, so those are kind of the demerits of this card. I would say it's a kind of average card, not exactly what I call good. I played 3 of the 1/1 Himinos, and her effect is she has an encore ability. So basically, if she gets reversed, you can discard 1 character card to stand her back up. And it's pretty useful in this deck, seeing how if you're lacking, like, this deck at level 1 kind of lacks power, so you probably want to keep your, some of your higher average power level 1s to kind of farm for stall, in case you run out of level 1 units. I play 4 of the 1-0 Sakura, and her ability is basically if I have 3 or more magic characters on the field, she gains 1000. So she's a 1-0 6000 essentially, which is a pretty good level 1s usually for 1-0. So I'm gonna move on to the level 2s, which is never that too long. So I'm gonna start with counters. So I played 2 2-1 counters. They are exactly the same, just have different TD and booster box. And I'm not gonna go too far into why I play 2 counters and whatnot, because counters in Weiss decks are pretty common. So there's really nothing too much to talk about it. So I'll just keep that aside now. I played 2 level 2 Sakuras, and I might have to actually make a second video or extension to this. Anyway, 2 level 2 Sakuras, what they do is, her first effect is once per turn, when a startup ability activates, she gains 1000 power, and her second ability is you can rest 1 magic character on the field, and she gains an additional 1000, and you can basically do this as many times as you want, or as many magic characters you have in your hand or field that you can rest and pay it out to gain 1000. Pretty good level 2, because if you just rest the 2 back rows, she's already at 10-5, and with any kind of support, she becomes pretty high power and can run over a lot of level 3s and level 2s. So pretty good card in my opinion. I played 2 Nurse Nemu. Her ability is for every X unit, she gains there's a 1000 multiplier on her assist. So, and the X is determined by how many assist characters you have on the field. So basically, if she was by herself, she was the only assist character, right? She would add 1000 to the front row. If you have 2, she would be 2000 each. So basically, if I have 2 Nurse Nemu, they'll each add 2000 to the characters in front of this card. And basically, this is a little higher than above average power booster compared to a level assist. Which is why I played 3 of the level 0 assists, because basically it's very important to have at least 2 assists to make use of Nurse Nemu. Otherwise, she'll add 1000, and basically that's low power, and you can't really. And then her cost wouldn't really pay it all, right? Because she is a level 2 with 2 costs, which is pretty high cost for assists. But I'll explain more later. I play 4 events, play 4 Himeno events, and this card allows me to. Basically, I pay 2, and I can play any Himeno card in my hand onto the field. Of course, logically to say you would only use this for a level 3 card, because with level 2 cost, you can basically play any level 2 already. So I'll move on to level 3 because I am quite short on time, and I probably have to extend this to 25 minutes or something. Okay. So to begin with, I play 4 level 3 Himenos. And her first ability is when this card is played from your hand, so this activates with the event as well, because it comes out from your hand. You may pick up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, and pick one of the 3, or how many cards you decide to draw, and add 1 to your hand, and discard the rest into the waiting. So one thing is you can pick up to 3, so you can pick 1 if you like, or you can pick up to 2 if you like, and basically put that 1 card in your hand, and put the rest in the waiting room. Her second ability is a Climax Synergy with the 2k1 here. When this card activates, so basically when you have the Climax card and her on the front field, you may discard 1 card from your hand and take 1 character card from your clock and play it out on the field. So this is obviously quite a good ability, and what makes this deck quite good is that if I had this in the clock, right, because it's a 2 cost 2, kind of high cost, I can discard 1 card and basically play this out for free in a way. and I also heal one because I play one card out from my clock, right? Alternatively, I can also play other level 3s. I can have other level 3s in my clock and just have it come out. And basically have, at level 2, I can basically have a feel of level 3s with this Climax card, along with the event. And basically that's the usage of Himino, and it's pretty good because I can ditch any card in my hand. I can ditch a Climax card if I like to. I can ditch an event if I like to. And basically that can help me basically put cards that I want into my deck back into the deck, because by the time you're at level 2, you're probably close to refreshing. So pretty good card. The other level 3s I play is they're Wedding Dress Nemu. Do I have enough time to explain Wedding Dress Nemu? And I do, I think. So this is the other card that I like to drag out with Himino's Climax Synergy effect, because Nemu has a pretty strong ability as well. Okay, so first of all, her ability is when she comes out from your hand, I can declock one. Pretty standard ability for a lot of level 3s. This is only when it comes out from your hand, so you cannot declock when it comes out from your claw. Her second ability is a Climax Synergy with the Gate, the 1k 1 soul to every unit or character. And this ability is when this card is activated, you can pay 1 cost and discard 1 card from your hand, and you can choose on your opponent's side of the field any slot, any 1 cost or lower unit, and put it onto the top of your deck. After that, she gains 2,000 additional power. So obviously, there's a lot of power in this deck, because if I had the Nemus and if I had the Nurse Nemus and everything, basically my units would gain, like my middle unit would gain 4,000, and my side would have 2,000 power at least in general. And she also gains additional 2,000 along with the 1,000 that you already added with your Climax card. So she can basically hit up to like 15, 17, or even 18 sometimes. So very powerful card, very powerful ability as well, because you can pick any 1 cost or lower on your opponent's side field and put it at the top of their deck. One of the most common thing I do is that I can pick their level assist or their assist card and put it to the top of their deck, which lowers the general playing power field on my opponent's side of the field, right? The other thing is that at late game, by putting like cards onto the top of your opponent's deck, right, and you can decide to side attack for lower damage to basically do precisive damage to your opponent to basically win the game, or try and not overextend, because if they cancel then QQ, right? But these are some ways that you can kind of try to certify your victory. Of course, it doesn't always work that well, because you could get some soul triggers and do more damage than expected, but I mean, basically to raise the ratios of doing precise damage, you can do something like that. And of course, I already talked about how you can destroy their assists. In general, what that means is that your characters will probably have enough power to run over everything on their side of the field, because in this deck, the power cap for all these cards are pretty high. They're all pretty high with the powerful assist and everything. And of course, this has a strong level 2 game, because I can grab my level 3s out earlier. And I think I made it on time, exactly on 20 minutes to explain my entire deck. So since I have 1 minute left, I'll just kind of note some of the things that that deck has. So obviously this deck has a very powerful level 2 game, because at your level 2 game, you're basically playing level 3s. The declocking ability of Himino is very good as well, because it actually avoids the anti-heal gimmicks or mechanic, because anti-heal requires you to take it only activates when a card goes from your clock into the waiting room, right? But Himino goes from the clock to the playing field, so that makes it so you can avoid the anti-heal and continue to heal if you like. Another ability is that she does not require you to have an open slot, so if you have a full field, you can actually play over it. So you can basically grab clocks out of your clock and play over it. And the other thing is that if you have 2 Himos, you can activate both effects at once. And let's say you have 2 cards in your clock. Basically, you can take 1 out at a time. So you wouldn't really say that you can't take out everything, right? So that itself is a pretty good ability. And I'm basically out of time, and I kind of managed to show off my deck pretty well in time, I think. So if you guys like, this is my DC 10 magic deck. My Capo magic deck, and